Subnautica 2 looks incredible visually, but I think most people are focusing on the wrong stuff. Everyone's talking about the graphics or even giant monsters, but what actually matters is whether this game can recreate the same feeling the original Subnautica game had. That feeling of being curious, exploring too deep, hearing a sound in the distance, and immediately wanting to turn around. I think that's what makes the first game so special. Not just the survival mechanics and, farming for the objects that you can find around the world, but also the fear factor. So I want to talk about the stuff that actually matters long term for this game and whether it can live up to the original of Subnautica when it was first released. Honestly, one of the biggest points of Subnautica 2 is gotta be the co-op. It's probably the biggest change in the entire game. The original Subnautica was terrifying because you were alone almost all the time. The only thing you had was little creatures that you could befriend along the way. Every deep dive felt stressful because if something went wrong, it was just, well, you. But now with co-op, that entire feeling changes. Exploring with friends sounds awesome. Building bases together sounds, great. But I'm curious if it will make the game less scary overall. Hearing your friend in the background screaming as much as they can and you running away in a panic, knowing that your friend is very well dead, is going to be very fun. But also, you could also be in reversed roles, so that will be fun for them. And I can just imagine the clip moments that I'll have with my friends, let alone you guys. And I think this could remove the isolation factor where you got in the first game, where the fear was just you against this giant beast, where if you have friends, that's going to remove that isolation factor. I think that's going to be the best balance and really important moving forward with the actual changes that Subnautica 2 dev team's going to apply to the game. I don't even think the graphics are the most important part of the new Subnautica 2 game. The original game worked because the world felt mysterious. You never knew what was really below you at certain moments in time. Sometimes the ocean just kind of felt empty and really uncomfortable in a way. And that fear of exploring deeper and deeper is what made the game memorable. The new environments and creatures already look really good and honestly kind of insane on the size factor. But the important thing is whether exploration still feels dangerous, because if players lose that fear or curiosity factor, it won't really feel like Subnautica anymore, especially if you are playing with friends. That's going to be a hard balance for the dev team to handle if the fear factor kind of gets drawn out while playing with friends and the world doesn't feel as fearful as it did in the first game. I've seen a lot of people worried about early access, and honestly, I think that's a fair concern. A lot of survival games launch way too early with barely enough content, so I think expectation matters a lot here. If people expect a fully complete giant experience immediately, they're probably gonna get disappointed. Remember, this game's only releasing 3 chapters off the get-go. That doesn't mean there's going to be a ton more, but that could mean that the chapters are really short, or that is just the stepping stones of the game, which I imagine is the case. But if the core gameplay loop is already strong, like exploration, progression, atmosphere, and the new creatures, then I think the game has a huge potential for long-term focus, because the storyline made up a large portion of the original Subnautica game. But that doesn't make the game itself. Remember, the fear factor of this game and the exploration as a whole and needing to go into deep trenches just for specific minerals made the game entirely amazing. I'd rather have strong systems early than a massive empty game off the rip. There aren't really many survival games that feel like Subnautica. Most survival games are just resource grinding and base building. But Subnautica makes exploration emotional somehow in some way, whether it be fear, excitement, or just the fact of relief when leaving in a terrifying moment. Players want to explore, but they're also terrified to do it. That's such a unique combination. If Subnautica 2 manages to keep that feeling while improving progression, and adding co-op to this could honestly become massive again. This is going to create a lot of factors when it comes to clipping and moments on YouTube, TikTok, etc. That's going to create a lot of draw to the game. Not only is there going to be funny moments with your friends, but just moments in general with your friends that you couldn't have in the original 2 games. Yes, there was mods that you could add to the game to make it so you could play with your friends, but it just wasn't reliable and it had a lot of issues. So let's see how this works. Is there going to be a quest progression system that saves with your friend, or is each person going to have to do things individually? Stuff like that is something we're going to find out, especially because there really isn't another survival game doing this exact kind of atmosphere. And finally, I think the biggest thing people should pay attention to isn't just giant creatures or graphics, it's whether Subnautica 2 can create the same fear or mystery that made the original game unforgettable. Because if they actually pull that off with co-op and larger systems, this could easily become one of the biggest survival games once again. I'm really curious what people think about the co-op side of things, because I could see people loving it or feeling like it changes the atmosphere too much. Is it going to make the game a little too quote-unquote easy because you don't have to grind for each mineral, or easy in the sense that the fear factor is kind of limited or gone entirely? It's a lot easier to be scared with friends, such as games like Phasmophobia, than it is to play horror games by yourself. And just to make everybody aware, the special offer that they were doing if you ordered the game between the 14th, when it is released early access, through the May 25th is going to be removed. It's now free for all players to have the Reaper Leviathan statue, and it's going to be something we're really excited to see, as returning players will see the actual structure of the Reaper Leviathan they never wanted to get close to, or returning players will see the beast that they conquered once again in their base.